Welcome to the Influence and Impact Summit presented by Platform University.
Know that your story matters and that you have a message that the world needs to hear.
You can get your message to the end user now so much easier.
It can't just be about you. Influence is about others.
And again, it all goes down to serving your audience and making a true, real connection with them.
Hi, I'm Michael Hyatt. Welcome to the Influence and Impact Summit presented by Platform University. I'm here with my good friend, Crystal Paine, who is a wife, a homeschooling mom, a New York Times best-selling author, and a mega blogger. In fact, her blog gets almost 2 million visitors a month, and you can find her at moneysavingmom.com. And I've invited her here on the show today to talk about influence and impact, big surprise, and talk about some insights and some strategies that she used to get the kind of reach and the kind of impact that she's enjoyed over the last few years. So, Crystal, welcome. Great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Terrific. Well, for people that may not be as familiar with your work, let's start at the very beginning. And if you could just share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you're excited about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Crystal Paine, and I've been married to my husband, Jesse, for 12 and a half years. We have 3 kids. They're 10, 8, and 6, and we live in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And I have been blogging since 2005 and been blogging on Money Saving Mom since 2007.
Wow. And what is it that you do that you like the best?
Well, I like being a mom and wife the best. I feel like I have the best job in the world in that I get to stay home and I get to homeschool my kids part-time, get to be with them, and get to be involved in their life. And then I get to impact millions of women around the globe from my house. That's a pretty cool job. So.
Well, it's amazing because I know that's exactly what our viewers dream of being able to do. And gosh, the technology is so amazing. We were talking before we got on this interview about Periscope. And just how you can really connect with people today with live streaming video in ways that, we couldn't have done even 6 months ago.
Yeah, when I started blogging, there wasn't even social media. So it's amazing how much it has progressed over the last 10 years. Yeah.
Well, you have a New York Times best-selling book. You've also got this massively successful blog, but I know you're not an overnight success. So kind of walk us through the journey of where it started when you began and, some of those early days, what that was like.
So I said I started blogging in 2005, and my husband was in law school, and we had set this audacious goal that we were going to stay out of debt when he was in law school. So we started in on the journey and then found out that I was pregnant, which I was super excited about, but I was so sick that I had to quit working. So I came home and I'm really sick in bed and I just start researching everything I can about making money online. And Yahoo groups were the thing then, so I started joining all these Yahoo groups and asking people, how are you doing this? How are you making money online? What's working for you? Fell into blogging and tried a bunch of other things like selling on eBay and writing ebooks and affiliate marketing, but really fell into blogging during that time and discovered I loved writing. And I loved finding creative ways to monetize a blog. And funny thing was, people were coming and reading this blog. And so I started blogging and then discovered that people were really hungry for information about saving money. And since my husband and I were living on this beans and rice budget at the time, I had a lot of information that I could share based on what we had learned and what we were living. So I started sharing that on this little mommy blog, and people just ate it up. And so then in 2007, after deciding that this is something I loved and this is something I really wanted to write more on, started moneysavingmom.com with the idea that this was going to be a little offshoot blog of the mommy blog and the other business stuff that I was doing. And within a year, this blog had just blown up because the economy was tanking and people were just really hungry for this information.
Gosh, what a great time to have come up with that concept. The concept is fantastic, but the time was like a big wave that you're going to surf. You just caught it at the exact right time.
Yes, right place, right time, and I look back and I can just really see how so many things, I just really feel like God had me right there at that time. That was kind of like my passion and my profession melding together, and I'm just humbly grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you get from blogging to becoming an author? I mean, I know they're both writing, but people have different kind of paths that they take to that. But how did you decide to write a book, and what was that process like?
So I had always said that if I was going to write a book, it had to come drop in my lap. And a few years after I started Money Saving Mom, I was writing a column for AOL. Back in the days, AOL was a big deal, and my column would be on the homepage of AOL every week. And one of the vice presidents of a publishing house saw this column, checked out my blog, came and offered me a book deal. And I thought it was a joke. I really didn't think it was for real. But I went and I Googled his name, as we all do, and found out he was legit. So I had a phone call. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no agent. I had no proposal. I had no clue. But I tried to write this book, did everything wrong. It's now in my vault of shame. But I learned a lot in the process and decided, you know what, I actually really like this whole idea of writing a book. It's very different than blogging, and it was something that it stretched me, it challenged me, and I learned a bunch through the process.
Okay, so was that book not the book that became your first book? That book never got published?
Oh, no, it's published. It's on Amazon. We're trying to get the rights back to it, but we weren't able to get the rights back. So, no, it's on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, so after that, then what happened? Where did you get to the New York Times best-selling book?
Yes, so after that book, actually, so when that book, I was so excited, like I had no idea what I was doing. And I was so excited, it launched, and it went up, and it's like out there to the world, and I thought it was this great book. And then I got so much criticism from it. You can go read the Amazon reviews, and everybody's just like, this is the most awful book. Why did I spend my money on this book? And I said, okay, forget it. I'm never writing a book again. But again, this opportunity kind of came and dropped in my lap, and I felt like, okay, I think I'm supposed to put myself out there again, but really had to take some time to mull over what do I want to write on. And if I'm going to write another book, I have to do it much differently this time. So the second time around, I had a very lengthy proposal that I put a lot of effort into, hired a proposal writer to help me write that proposal, and then had a ghost editor that wrote the book with me so that I felt like it was a much stronger book, and I put a lot more effort into it. So that was Say Goodbye to Survival Mode, and that came out in January of 2014, and it did hit the list, which surprised me so much, but it was very exciting. So.
Okay, so what did that feel like when you got the call from the publisher? Because I've had that call before too, but you got that call, and they said, hey, we have some news. Are you sitting down? Your book just hit the New York Times bestseller list.
It was very surreal. It was one of those things because I had already put a book out there and felt like I'd failed miserably at that book and been very kind of hurt by all the criticism that I'd received. And so to put myself out there again, I actually had told my husband about a week before the book was supposed to be published, the street date. I told him, I said, could you just pray for me? Because I feel like if I put so much into this book and if I start getting a ton of criticism right out of the chute, like I just don't know that I can deal with it because you put so much into putting your book out there. And so getting that call, it felt very surreal and it felt very fulfilling because I knew that I was supposed to face my fears and put myself out there again, even though it had been so hard the first time. And so it felt like it was that fulfillment of I'd been courageous, I'd done this hard thing, and it had really paid off.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And the book is called Say Goodbye to Survival Mode. I really encourage you guys to pick it up. I've read it. I did a review on my site, and well worth the read. So great job. You talked about criticism, and I think that's something people have to face pretty soberly who want more influence and impact, which is all the people that are watching this video right now. So how have you matured in that, and how do you think about it now maybe as different from how you thought about it back when it was so hurtful?
Yes, you have to have a lot of backbone if you're going to put yourself out there. And sometimes people think, oh, I just wish that I had this huge platform. And I always say with success, there's a new set of hard things. So criticism has been something that I've grown in. I remember when I first started, with that first book and some of those first blog posts that I put out there, and I was like, I couldn't understand. Like, people didn't think this was amazing, and it really humbled me. And it was very good for me to realize that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody's not going to love what I do. And pushback is good, and I can learn from it, and I can grow from it. And so I feel like the criticism that I've gotten, a lot of it has been so constructive, and I've grown and I've learned. For instance, my third book is coming out in November, and I feel like it's my best work yet. And it's my best work yet because I have gotten so much criticism, and I've had my writing critiqued so much that I've grown as a writer.
That's terrific. Yeah, I do think that's one of the things we have to learn to deal with, and I can just report, from my side of it, it's gotten easier over time, and I've also learned to distinguish between trolls and constructive criticism. So there are people that have really helpful things to say, and I love that. Sounds like that's exactly where you're at. But then there are just people who have too much time on their hands. And because they have a microphone, they're going to make your life miserable, and I just ignore those. I pay no attention to them at all. Crystal, as you look back on your career, if you were not you, but you were a third party kind of analyzing it, and you were looking at the inflection points, the places where your influence really seemed to grow, and you were to deconstruct that as to why what happened, what would you say? What were some of those inflection points, and kind of how do you analyze them looking back on them?
I think for me, one of the first inflection points was when I started Money Saving Mom. So that was in 2007. So I've been blogging and trying this whole online entrepreneurial thing for about 2.5 years. And I had poured so much into it and seen so little fruit from it. And many people, I feel like they're not successful because they give up too soon. You want that easy, quick success. And if you don't get it within 3 to 6 months, you're like, I'm done with this. And so pouring into this blog and this online platform for 2.5 years, and I poured in, I was, working a full-time job, full-time hours, pouring that into this platform, seeing very little fruit from it. But when I started Money Saving Mom, because the economy was tanking, because people were so hungry for this information, and because I'd spent 2.5 years learning how to blog, learning how to monetize a blog, learning how to be a better writer, learning how to network, that it just all came together and all that hard work paid off. So I would say that is definitely one of the inflection points where it was because of the 2.5 years that nobody ever saw, that nobody really paid attention to, all that work paid off then.
What kept you going on that tenacity thing when you probably felt like quitting, or sometimes nobody's listening to you and you just wonder what kept you going?
I think for me, I don't have a lot of strengths as far as you saw before the interview. I'm not techie at all. I don't have a lot of gifts when it comes to being this amazing writer as far as, my words don't make people just ooh and ah. That's not my gift. My gift is I have the gift of perseverance. I don't give up easily. And I also don't, when someone says you can't do that, I listen to that and hear, you should try. I bet you could. And so I think for me, that's really what kept me going. And also the fact that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we needed to put bread on the table and a roof over our head. And so that is highly motivating when you know that you got to pay bills.
Where does that perseverance come from? I mean, is it just a gift, or is it something you think you developed, or did you get it from your parents, or just your circumstances, or what?
My parents are some of the hardest working people that I've ever met. I was raised in a family of 9. There's 7 kids, and they moved out to the country when I was about 11 years old so that we could live on acreage because they felt like we needed more work to do. So that kind of tells you what I was raised with, and that we did backbreaking effort, of planting trees and gardening and watering and mowing because my parents wanted to develop in us a strong work ethic. So I look to my parents and I say that perseverance came from them. And for all the parents out there who feel like, giving your children chores, is that really, are you hurting your kid? No. You're helping your kid. You're giving them one of the best gifts that you can, a strong work ethic.
Absolutely. In those moments when you want to quit, because I know a lot of people that are watching this, they may be at that point now. This may be their last hope that they can continue and build their platform. Is there something you say to yourself, or is there a way that you shift your thinking when you want to quit so that you don't quit?
For me, I go back to my why, because over and over again, every single week, there are very discouraging things. Now that, I have a larger team and I have a larger platform, there are still many discouraging things. Mm-hmm. And instead of on a bigger scale, because maybe it's instead of a $4 or $400 mistake, it's a $40,000 mistake like I made recently. And so it hits you hard, and you think, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? So many other people could do it so much better than me, but I have to go back to my why. What is my why? I want to encourage and inspire and impact women to help them to stop living life stuck in survival mode. I want to encourage and impact women to inspire them to live with intention and to not just go through their life running around in circles with nothing to show for themselves at the end of the day. And so that is my why. I have such a passion to help women all over the world to live their life with purpose so that they can look back at the end of their life and say, it mattered. It mattered. I did something that mattered with my life instead of I just barely made it through. So that's really my why, and I go back to that and I remind myself of those emails and those in-person meetings that I've had with women who have tears in their eyes who tell me that because of my blog, it's impacted their whole entire life and their family and their home and their business and everything. And I remember that and say, it is worth it and I have to keep going. If I give up now, I'm being a coward.
Wow, that's great. I love the clarity that you have around your why. Did you ever write that down so that you could, reference it later?
I write it down regularly just to remind myself of why I'm doing it, because almost every single week I say, okay, I'm quitting. I'm done. This is too hard. And I have to remind myself of that. And I read those emails and those letters and remember those people that I've met. And that's one reason that I love Periscope, is because that personal interaction right then that you're remembering that this matters.
That's so good. Well, I think for people watching this, writing down their why is critically important because you're going to need it. Trust us. You're going to need it when you just don't have any other frame of reference. It's kind of like when you're flying an airplane through fog. I've never done that, but my guess is that you have to pay attention to your instruments, or vertigo, when you get completely disoriented and all you can fly by is the instruments, not what you think is up and what you think is down. And I find that my why is like a compass that'll point me true north when I get in those moments. So a lot of people would look at you, Crystal, and say, oh, my gosh, she's the person I want to become. She's so successful. She's a mom. She's an entrepreneur. She's got this amazing business team and all that. But what's been the most surprising thing for you about success?
I think for me, success has humbled me in the sense of that I realize how needy I am and how without God, I am nothing. And I think every single day I have to go back to that of realizing as a Christian, I am nothing without the Lord. And this is too big for me. I don't have the backbone without him. So having to go back to that over and over and over again every single day, I would say that is the thing. I think you look at someone who's successful and you think they have it all together. They must never, ever question that they don't have what it takes. And to realize that none of us, don't put anyone up on a pedestal, because every single day we struggle and it's hard and we wonder why we're doing this and we think we don't have what it takes. So don't put someone up on a pedestal because we're all in the trenches together. That's
really good. Do you think of yourself as successful? I'm just kind of processing this question for the first time myself. Or do you want, like when you get to the summit that you're at, do you see there's a whole other mountain range that you want to pursue? And so that you feel like you're in pursuit? Or do you celebrate your success? How do you think about that?
I do really try to put effort into celebrating success. I'm with the kind of driver personality that I have, I would want to just be like, okay, like next mountain to climb. But to really look back and celebrate what all has taken place. And I'm 33 years old, and to look at what those years have held. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a really big health scare and I didn't get a cancer diagnosis, but for 2 days we thought it was going to be a cancer diagnosis, and it was going to totally change my life. And getting that really caused me to stare death in the face. And I look back on the 33 years of my life and say, I am grateful for those 33 years, and I lived life well, and I want to celebrate that and not be discouraged or feel like it's not enough. But at the same time, I also feel like I have so far to go. I'm constantly learning and growing as a person, and I don't want to ever feel like I've arrived, because I haven't. I have so far to go, so much to learn, so much to grow in, and that's why I want to surround myself with people who will challenge me to be the best version of myself that I can be. So surrounding myself with those people so that they remind me that, when I start to get a big head, that, you're not all that big stuff, but also that they challenge me and spur me on and help me to keep growing as a person.
That's terrific. Let's shift for just a minute to social media, because many people watching this probably don't know that you've got a very successful Facebook page. I think about 760,000, or maybe probably more than that by now, likes on Facebook. How has social media helped you to expand your influence and increase your impact?
So my husband was the one that suggested that I start a Facebook page, and that was way back before very many people had Facebook pages for their business or their blog. And he said, there's this thing called a Facebook page. You should start it. And I was like, what do you know about blogging? You don't have a blog. But I was like, okay, I will. Okay, so I'll set it up. Well, that ended up, to this day, has been, ever since I set it up, my biggest traffic driver. And so I tell him all the time, if you have any other ideas, let me know, because clearly you know more about blogging than I. But so Facebook has been a huge traffic driver for me, but it's not just about driving traffic. It has brought so many new faces to the blog that have been engaged at a very deep level. So for me, it's not about this drive-by traffic. It's about engaging at a deep level. And so taking those drive-by people and then helping plug them in, and so they become the raving fans and people who are highly engaged in the community. So Facebook is not just about traffic for me. It's become about community. And there are so many people on my Facebook page that have been there for years and that I know well, because we engage and interact on a very regular basis. And so the community there is so strong, and I just love it.
One of the things, you actually wrote this in a guest post on my blog where I can't remember exactly what happened on Facebook, but you learned a kind of a hard lesson about Facebook. And could you just share that with us?
Yes. So Facebook was blowing up for me. It was 2 years ago when it was like the Facebook gods shined their light on my site. They did this to a couple of different sites and just decided that we're going to blow up their Facebook page. And so for a little while, I was getting 20 to 30,000 new followers every single week. And
wow.
Not only that, but it was like they were showing my posts to just millions of people. So our traffic was insane. We had to keep upping our our bandwidth and our hosting, keep upping it and upping it and upping it, and our site would keep crashing. It was insane. And then all of a sudden, one day in February, I think it was February 22nd or something, it just cut off. And so where Facebook had been showing our posts to like over 100% of people, they were showing it to 5% or less. And so it really impacted our traffic, and it impacted our income, and it was a very rocky time for me as a business owner, thinking I'm putting all my eggs in this Facebook basket. So for me, Facebook now, it's still, we've done a lot of different things and learned a lot, and so now it is highly engaged again, and we get a lot of traffic from Facebook, but I see it as just one piece of a very big pie. And I put a lot of effort in the last year into building my email list and into really engaging with people personally so that I'm not dependent upon social media. So yes, I love the traffic from Facebook. Yes, I love the community on Facebook, but I don't want to hang all my hats on Facebook and have that be what I'm dependent upon as a business owner.
Yeah, terrific. I like to tell people, don't build your house on a rented lot. And Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those are great, but I'm not going to build that as my primary home base. I want that to be on my blog and, as you said, email list is primary. How have you built your email list?
So for a long time, I did nothing other than have a little email sign up and have my blog posts just go into people's inbox every single day. And so then I realized about a year and a half ago that was not real smart marketing, and I kicked myself. It was actually, I went to the Platform Conference and sat there literally wanting to poke my eyeballs out saying, I cannot believe that I've been a business owner this long and I've never really done anything with my email list. So I came home determined to figure out what am I doing wrong, what do I need to change. So the last year and a half or 2 years, not exactly sure the time frame, but it's really been focused on figuring out how to use an email list well and then how to set that up, because it was a hard place to be in where I wasn't starting from scratch. I already had hundreds of thousands of people on an email list, but it wasn't being used well. And so it's hard to figure out what do I do with all of those people and how do I figure out who's really engaging and who's not. And so we've been on a journey with that. I wouldn't say we've at all arrived, but we've learned a lot. And so one thing that I did is for a long time, I just stopped list building. I said I don't want to list build anymore until I figure out what to do with the people who are already on my list. And so I've really focused on list nurturing versus list building, and we're seeing some great success as a result of that. And then also coming up with more niche lists that I regularly engage with on a very personal level, that has been highly successful for us as well.
So do you mean by niche lists like segmenting the list by interest?
So I launched my first course this year called Makeover Your Mornings. It's a 14-day online course to help you use your mornings well so you can use your days well. And so when I launched that, one of the things that I specifically wanted to do was build a list around people who bought that course. So once they bought the course, then they get a weekly email newsletter from me that I personally sit down and write, and it's a letter from me that tells just newsy stuff behind the scenes, what's going on in my life, and then also gives them links to products, to other great articles that I read that week, a book that I'm reading, whatever. Every week it's different. And so that list has become so highly engaged. We have a 50 to 60% open rate on that list, and it's only about, I think there's about 18,000 people on it. So it's a small list, but it's highly engaged, and it's only buyers. So these are people, I look at them as these are people who, they are my buyers because they bought the course. And so engaging with them so that long term when I do launch other products that would speak to that list, I have nurtured them so that they are very ready to buy again. And we're going to do the same thing with my book when it comes out in November. We're launching a 5-day course. My book is called Money Making Mom, and we're launching a 5-day course that's going to be free around the book topic, and then I'm going to nurture that list as well. So that will be a list of people who really want to make more money and that are interested in kind of but more in the mom market. How do moms make money? And so I will be doing the same thing with that list, only sharing stuff that is targeted to that topic.
That book's going to explode, no question. I mean, that is so in your niche. Yeah, it's going to be great. If you were advising somebody that was just starting out, and you said, okay, look, if I had to do it over again, here's what I would do. What would be the 2 or 3 things that you would tell them to start with first so that they could get the maximum leverage at the beginning? Not that it's going to happen fast, but what would you do first, second, and third?
I think first I would know my why. I think that's so important to know why you're doing it. Don't try to be a copycat of someone else. It's so easy to see someone else who's being successful at something and think, oh, I could do that too, and then to try to copycat them. So know your why, know what you are supposed to do, and be uniquely you. That's what's going to be successful long term. Secondly, I really wish if I could go back and do it over again that I had started with an email list and really been intentional about that instead of just waking up one day and realizing, I need to do something with this and having to backtrack and learn from that, and really nurturing those relationships and focusing less on the quantity and focusing more on the quality, because that's been my focus this last year of going deeper versus going wider. And so then I think I'm trying to think. I think the third thing would be to have really good people around you. When I first started blogging, I did not have good truth tellers around me. I didn't have people who could help me on those hard days to, realize, oh, that's a troll or that's constructive criticism. And so putting truth tellers around me and really investing in those relationships, I think that's been key in the last 2 years as things have grown for me to grow as a person.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, I want to summarize those again because they're a great takeaway. Number 1, know your why. Number 2, build your email list. And number 3, surround yourself with truth tellers that can give you some sense of perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
Great takeaway. Okay, so you told us about you're working on the book. Is there what's after that to build your own influence and impact in the world?
So I said I did my first course this year. I'm really excited about doing more downloadable products and courses. Probably in 2016, that's something that I'm going to explore more. And I'm really excited about that because there was a lot of interest in that course, and we've gotten the most positive feedback from the course that I've ever gotten of anything that I've ever done. I'm also just dabbling in Periscope. I started a morning show a few weeks ago, and that has been so much fun, and I have loved that, and I feel like the instant feedback that I'm getting from that is helping me to know, okay, what do my readers want, and what can I do, how can I serve them better? So I feel like those are two things that I'm really going into 2016 saying, how can I serve my readers better? How can I engage with them at a deeper level? And how can I bring them more into my life? Because they love the written words on the page, but they love even more the video and getting to feel like they're actually a part of my life.
That's cool. Yeah, I love Periscope for the very same reason. As we bring this interview to a close, I'd love for you to share just any last thoughts that you have for our viewers. Again, these are people that are wanting to increase their influence, extend their impact, and really crave to get their message out there. So any final advice you give to them?
I think that the biggest thing that has helped me in the last few years to grow in my confidence, because I went into blogging as a very shy, very insecure person. And it's been very hard for me when I got all that criticism. I wanted to run. I wanted to hide under a rock, and I wanted to just pretend I didn't exist anymore. And I've learned a lot about courage. And I think the thing for me that has transformed my life is reading Brené Brown's books, especially Daring Greatly, and really believing to the core of my being that I am enough. I had a necklace made that said, I am enough, and believing that to the core of my being and then living out of that belief that I am enough and that I am unique, that I don't have to do more, be more, try harder in order to attain other people's, that please other people and in order to attain their praise. That's not what I need to be chasing after. And so my challenge to those people watching is to know that you are enough and that your story matters, that you are unique, and that you have a story and you have a message that the world needs to hear. Don't worry about the other people that tell you that you can't do this or that you're not good enough. Don't feel like you need to please the people who are never going to be pleased with you. You are enough exactly as you are. The world needs you, the world needs your gifts, and the world needs your story.
That is awesome. Crystal, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time and with your insights, and I know a lot of people watching this, everybody watching this is going to get an extraordinary amount of help from it. So thank you so much. And for those of you watching this, be sure and visit moneysavingmom.com where you can find out all about Crystal and what she has to offer and really connect with her there and connect with her on Periscope. So, that's a great opportunity for you to get to know her at an even deeper level. Now it's your turn to comment, and we'd love for you to do that on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Just use the hashtag #InfluenceImpact, and stay tuned for more sessions from the Influence and Impact Summit. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to the Influence and Impact Summit presented by Platform University.
Know that your story matters and that you have a message that the world needs to hear.
You can get your message to the end user now so much easier.
It can't just be about you. Influence is about others.
And again, it all goes down to serving your audience and making a true, real connection with them.